Join Dessie Brown as he gives you inside access to industry leaders who are making it happen in entertainment, film, music, sports, and politics. It's the YouKnowDessie Show.
It's the YouKnowDessie Show, and we're live in Atlanta, ATL, shorty, and we here with the man with the plan at Remerge. We're here with BEM JOINER from Atlanta Influences Everything. How you doing today, my brother?
Man, doing good, yo. Thank you for coming through again. You might as well move here, man. You here every couple months.
Hey, man, look, Atlanta is the place to be. And it's always so much going on, especially in these days and times. So that's why I always love to be out here. I love the culture. I love the energy. And it was dope to be connected with you, man, because you're always out here really making things happen for the culture. And I really appreciate you being on the show. And the reason that I really wanted to sit down with you is because you're a creator. You're super creative. And everything that you work on, I feel like it has a purpose that's larger than just about getting a check. Like at the end of the day, you're about community. So please tell the people who you are and what it is that you do.
First of all, shout out to Sherry Scott. You know, she was the one connected us, man.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Sherry.
And that's what I'm known to do. What she does, and she's actually connected me a couple times this year with other things. But BEM JOINER, co-founder of Atlanta Influences Everything. We're a civic-minded creative consultancy. So, you know, there are many creative agencies and consultancies. Ours, we use the culture and the influence of culture and creative culture, and use that influence not only to push a brand or a product, but also tie it and have it do some sort of natural, organic lean in to community. You know, depending on what that product is, there's something there. So,
and please tell us about how you got started within this space, because I know you're from Atlanta. What part?
Southwest, West End. West End, to be exact.
Yeah, and did you always think that you would end up in marketing coming up? Because I know you played, I guess, football as well. So talk about kind of getting started.
Well, I'm 42, so I identify as Gen X, the tail end. So I guess they would call it a zennial, whatever. So, you know, I'm from the South, so, you know, football, sports, and then just growing up looking at you know, Crush Groove and learning about hip hop. It's just infatuated by sports because that was what surrounds you in the city. Everybody's hooping, playing football. It showed, you know, when you're a little boy, you're trying to hang. It showed male testosterone powers, you know. And then, but when you look at TV, and I'm seeing like hip hop culture on the other side. Like I grew up liking, you listen to radio, Guns N' Roses, like different things. So it's like when you're young, and it's like, well, don't draw on the wall. You can't, you know, you're 2 years old, you draw on the wall, you get your hand popped.
Yeah.
And you understand not to draw on the wall. Then a few years later, I'm watching like Crush Groove.
And that's all they doing.
That's all they doing. These are grown men drawing on the wall. Now the police are tripping.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, why are the grown men? They're still drawing on walls.
Right.
But it looks, I thought my mom said I can't draw on the wall.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of insight into like hip hop being something anti what my mama said.
Yeah, it's kind of like it has that rebellious energy, basically.
And then I saw like once you started learning the elements, that the drawing on the wall, that's still kind of edgy. But then there's this other element of DJing, and it's like, well, the police ain't chasing the DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just it's fashion, all these other elements, and I'm like, I want to do that. But this is, pre-internet, so it felt like that lifestyle of entertainment and whatever was on the other side of the TV screen felt like it was only available if you lived in LA and New York. It wasn't available
in the South.
So it wasn't until late middle school, eighth, ninth grade. The interesting piece about that, if you were in the 8th, 9th grade in Atlanta in the early 90s, Atlanta wasn't super popular like that. The announcement was just made that we got the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that was no one saw that coming. And, people were still trying to figure out what was so special. And you had kind of Freaknik going on and some other stuff, but there was the full narrative of what Atlanta was yet.
Yeah, it was kind of being created at that time.
Yeah. And so if that's around the same time, LaFace and the music.
Yeah.
And the early days of LaFace, you got, Tony Rich, Outkast, Pink. When, that was where Pink first was. You know?
And that was my first introduction to really Atlanta. And I would probably say that the Players Ball. Because I grew up in, East Texas, east of Dallas. And so, like, man, when I saw Outkast, Players Ball, like, and even the camera going through the house and everything like that, like, I was hooked, you know what I'm saying? And from that moment, I bought everything Outkast, Goody Mob, all of that, super, super heavy in the Dungeon Family and the Attic Crew, and you know what I'm saying? I was really big on just Atlanta culture, Atlanta music. So it's interesting to hear your perspective, growing up here versus like, me just seeing it from the outside looking in.
Man, versus somebody who's in the 8th grade in Atlanta now.
Yeah.
The only Atlanta they know
is Turner.
They know Atlanta influenced everything off and then in the 8th grade, I was meek in the 8th grade, like in comparison to my cousins up north.
Yeah.
And if I met somebody from LA or New York, I didn't want to, I wanted to hold my own, but I was so in awe of the TV, Statue of Liberty. Man, it was big media. And so this new Atlanta has such an aura attached to it.
Yeah.
That they don't, to tie it into New York and LA, my peers in New York and LA are no different to me than the 8th grader in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They grew up in a city that was already, anybody my age in New York and LA, those cities were already what they were before you were born.
Right.
So I don't know, no disrespect, but I'm like, what did you contribute to LA and New York?
Right.
But people 10, 15 years older than me and my age group can show real scale.
Like they built it. Like,
man.
Yeah.
And we went, my age group is a group that we went through puberty when Atlanta was also in transition. So there's a very large difference between my 6th, 7th grade year of middle school and my 10th, 11th grade year of high school in terms of the infrastructure and the brand of Atlanta. It changed so much. Drastically over that. It continues.
And even when it, the South had that moment when Dre was like, the South got something to say, and it ain't never been, any different since then. But moving forward, talk about, I guess, your experiences, like when you went to college and then coming out of college and where did the brand and the idea for the brand and different things like that kind of start?
So I went to college in Mississippi. I got in some trouble in high school and was looking at going to school in Bethune, and ended up having to go to court and Judge Hatchett, before she was a TV judge, was a juvenile court judge here. Now, I had just turned 18 and I wasn't supposed to go in front of a juvenile judge, but my mom was an Atlanta Public School social worker, and she pulled some strings that got me to go in front of Judge Hatchett. So she was like, you can't go to Bethune-Cookman, because that's in Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
You're not mature enough, So a friend of mine was looking at Mississippi State. He was a much better football player than me.
Yeah.
He didn't have the SATs. They sent him to the school East Mississippi, which I guess in today's brand, everybody knows it as Last Chance University on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's where I went to junior college. Okay. And then from there, decided to go to Jackson State because I was looking at either coming back to Atlanta, but I didn't want to come back to Atlanta. I did want to see other places. Yeah. I was already in Mississippi. What kept me in the state was David Banner had just come out with Crooked Letters. Yeah. And
that was definitely pivotal.
And I was like, okay, Jackson got a little music. Yeah. And so I was like, and I remember talking with DJ Jelly here at Big Oomp Records. Yeah. And he was giving me money to take flyers and stuff back to Jackson and hang them up at Jackson State. And I was like, man, I could stay down in Jackson and just kind of plug into the music scene here. Yeah. Which should give me, I should be able to easily do it because I'm from Atlanta.
Yeah, so and that's gonna be a big deal to them. Like you the Atlanta to Jackson connection.
Yeah. So when I got to Jackson State, like it was cool. But the HBCU narrative and just growing up watching a different world, I grew up a 10-minute walk from Morehouse and Spelman. Yeah. Just come from a very strong do-for-self Black community. Right. But my elementary through high school was all in the Buckhead area of Atlanta near Lenox and all of that. So I went to school early on. Still Atlanta Public Schools, but I went to school multicultural. So with rich white Buckhead people, Ismael Salvador was Peruvian, Al Tom was from Taiwan. Just this multicultural palette, while still being able to be whatever my blackness was, because at the time the mayor of Atlanta was Maynard Jackson. So Atlanta was still this black city that had, this is the white side of town, but they were like highly liberal white people. So there was this.
Yeah, and that's so important. Like we always talk about that exposure and what you come up and what you see, kind of can make a big impact, right? Because me being from Texas, like the area that I'm from is known for cotton, and there was like a sign up in the 70s where I'm from in Greenville, Texas, and it said the blackest land with the whitest people. You know what I'm saying? So it's known for cotton. So, you got to be careful in certain areas, but even if you're in deep south, you know what I'm saying, but you at least know that Atlanta has a black mayor. Like it still kind of makes you feel like,
this feeling, especially going to Mississippi, where I'm not going to say, because obviously there's a stereotype of certain parts of the South, and that, they, like that black person might have his head down. Now, strong black people on levels that I come across. And then, the nickname of Jackson is Jacktown. So the hood and the streets were there. Yeah. But, any black community, America, you get some of these elements. Yeah. What separated, Drake got this verse in that Lucky Lefty song where he said, when it come to school, there was no way I was A+ in it. So I'm 2.7 GPA. It's kind of like my thing. But I was like super Atlanta. Everybody knew me on. I had locks. This is like '99.
Yeah.
So
when it wasn't as common to see the locks.
And I'm in Mississippi with them.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of the out-of-staters hung together. But I spent a lot of time with folks that was really from Jackson and Clarksdale, Mississippi, the Delta where the blues was.
Yeah.
So Southern hospitality and humbleness always kept me grounded in those situations, even though I come from a place where I saw black excellence and from a monetary, like I knew the real Cliff Claire Huxtable type families. It's like, yo, I saw this Mississippi and these, even some of these other black people from Arkansas, Memphis. It's a different type of black person in Atlanta on some Morehouse Spelman hierarchy.
Right.
W.E.B. Du Bois, the talented 10th.
Yeah.
So I saw that, but because my family was more community oriented, both my parents were social workers. I always looked at a lens of community, whether I wanted to or not. Yeah. And what really separated me was my going to school in the black city of Atlanta, but on the white side of town in the black city. Yeah. So while at Jackson State, somebody would have like they might beat me in testing. So we in college, so it's class. Right. You in college to go to class. Yeah. So the learning aspect, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. But 2.5, 2.0, I'm winging it. I'm cheating. We trying to figure it out. Right. But when it came time for like class discussions or anything outside of the actual act of testing,
you own it,
man. But it was that Atlanta shit. It was the black excellence mixed with my understanding of white people and other races. And so I'm in class with 4.0 black people, but they from small Mississippi towns. Yeah. Or they a place where not a lot of exposure. Yeah. So you were just killing me academically. Yeah. Which that's okay. Right. But we start talking about life and traveling in the world, like yo.
And that's the whole interesting thing about education, right? Because I'm all for education. But if you break it down, I'm a college dropout. If you real about it, and I do think it's important that kids go to college because that's where you meet people. That's where you connect.
That's really
with people.
What you're paying for.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Your network coming out of college is much more important than that degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, my homegirl work at SCAD, yo. Yeah. She mean. She's a rough black lady. Yeah. Amazing. SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. So she said, it's a bunch of privileged kids get in there. Yeah. But they don't all have the it factor. I think she worked in some sort of digital design department or something. She's got a crazy story herself. Yeah. But she said she'll tell the students by the end of first semester, she'll be like, yeah, you ain't finna make it. But the person who sit over to the left of you ain't never thought about you need to meet him. Yeah. Y'all need to work together. Cause you got some stuff, but academically you ain't finna make it. But you need to become friends with him. Yeah. Y'all can do some stuff. She said that's what she would just start doing because she would look either from an academic perspective or certain other things. She would look at these young people and be like, the world is gonna be tough on you. But I know the class because I'm teaching it. Right. What you have, there's another student in the class. I don't know if y'all talking. Yeah. Y'all might should meet each other, man. And she would do that within hopes that this fashion student mixed with this graphic student over here might
be able to create something. Yeah. And that's the importance of connecting people. I consider myself a connector, and I consider you a connector, and Sherry, and you never want to be taken advantage of when you're a connector, but when you meet good, genuine people, you don't mind passing the plug and throwing the alley oop because you know it's gonna come back around at the end of the day.
Come back around, yo.
Man,
I'm starting to live that. So
exactly.
This is an example, in my opinion.
Yes.
From my times with Sherry.
Yeah.
This is a comeback around because I've given Sherry stuff. She's given me. This is years of our relationship, and so when she said, you know, this is guy Dessie, I know who the text came from. It came from Sherry.
Right.
Now I got these other people in the phone who I gotta keep them in the phone for relationship purposes. Yeah. But there's little either emojis or asterisk. There's stuff that I got attached to your name that when the text come through, it's like
let me see. Let me see what they on.
Oh, Sherry text. Oh, Dessie. I need to meet Dessie then.
For sure. And but yeah, back to the importance of collaborating because for so long in our culture, we don't like to collaborate. We want to like go off and do our own thing ourselves. But I'm really big on always saying like 100% of nothing is nothing. I'd rather have 50% or 20% of something and truly build it. So talk about, I guess, how you guys created, Atlanta Influences Everything, because I want to make sure we get into that as well.
And the collaboration piece is very important. Yeah, you're right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and a lot of times that one piece that, like, if we got the idea, I don't do graphic design, but my lack of collaborating with somebody who does, I'm gonna force myself to do it. And there are some stories of people who are self-taught, and that have now added that repertoire because their collaborations with folks who do it didn't go right, and now they this multi-hyphenate. They could do all of the things, but then that could lead to burnout. You know what I'm saying? So there's a.
But you can't do everything by yourself. You just naturally can't. Ain't enough time in the day.
And what I like about if you say this, the saying of for the culture now, everybody like do it for the culture. That when you strip that down, that basically also would mean collaborate, because it's basically whatever gets it done. If you got to do it for the culture, then that means it's beyond you.
Yeah, it's bigger than you.
Yeah, it's for the culture.
Right.
So it's not that I don't want to collaborate. I might need to collaborate with you.
Yeah.
Just to do it for the culture.
Yes, because we know it's going to be bigger.
It could be optics. It could be the finished product or whatever. But that said, my two business partners are one from Tori's from Bridgeport, Connecticut, Ian is from Brooklyn. And we were working on a project for Nike. They were doing a 20th anniversary Bo Jackson cross trainers for the 96 Olympics. So a friend of ours, Chaos, who's from Brooklyn but went to high school here, had maneuvered his way to Nike corporate in Portland. And then toward the end of 2015, he sent us these designs of these shoes. Like, yo, Nike is doing these shoes for the Olympics. 20th anniversary is gonna have like a peach on the tongue. So we came up with a marketing strategy because that's what we were. And our way of doing marketing was like, taking elements of Def Jam and Bad Boy, and they hang with guerrilla marketing and just that, but applying it to brand, like the Steve Stout translation formula, like really corporate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because corporate, a lot of times they don't understand it, and it comes second nature to us. And I feel like a lot of things come second nature to us is because we didn't have access to the budget. When you ain't got access to an unlimited budget, you got to figure out more creative ways. And I might have to get out here with some flyers and meet some people and throw some shirts on some people and do it.
And that's what we attempted to do in our ability to pitch to Nike was do this Atlanta scavenger hunt, because we knew they said they were doing 1,996 pair of shoes. Yeah. And that was really it. So we had seen that, some Jordan 1s, we saw some stuff Nike did in Chicago with the Jordan 1s, saw Adidas do this like big life-size shoebox in Central Park in New York. Over the weekend, it just popped up there. You know, and folks go in there like, oh, these Instagrammable moments for the brand that would also benefit more. Also, who the brand is trying to reach.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the relationship would be one way, like use the agency to help get the product to the consumer. But the consumer, especially in my mind, the black consumer was so valuable to the equation that what else could we get from that was always our approach. So this the Beltline in Atlanta, along with MARTA, our public transportation, we would come up with this like scavenger hunt to get everybody where you would like find this golden ticket like Willy Wonka to win these shoes or whatever. Nike didn't take the campaign and they didn't want to cut the budget, and what we found out was they didn't view Atlanta as a major market in comparison to Chicago, LA, New York, Singapore, and the stuff that they was judging us off of. Some of it was infrastructure and density stuff. Atlanta's still a small city, really. And it has a lot of sprawl.
And they don't realize that, like you say, it really influences things.
But it didn't. But that wasn't. Nike didn't understand that when we were on the phone. So out of frustration, I didn't know what to say when I was like, "Oh, y'all obviously don't get it." And I don't know what to tell you, man. All I can tell you, man, is Atlanta influenced everything, though. And my partner, Ian, being from Brooklyn, he went to Morehouse. He heard it. Obviously, he ran it through his Brooklyn meter first before he, he said, damn, yo, you might be right. Really, this is post Detroit versus everybody. Because Atlanta, everybody was trying to start doing this. To me, Detroit versus everybody re-brought back city branding. And city branding before.
And I want to get into that too. Talking about the way like now Gucci coming in. Like late after the fact.
Super.
You know what I'm saying?
But as my homegirl told me, if that's the case, you can say no to them, or if you say yes to them, man, you got to make them pay, and you got to make them pay in more ways than one. As Jay would say, for what they did to the Cold Crush, there's a way to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, but what we realized, so they were doing Atlanta versus everybody shirts, but this wasn't 05 when Lil Jon, Atlanta rap used to be heavy aggressive.
Right.
But
Crunk era.
Which came from Memphis, really. You know, the reason Atlanta was able to leverage that sound, even though we didn't necessarily create it, and almost would be the same with bass music coming from Miami and Atlanta, kind of leveraging booty shape.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned Memphis, dog. I love 3 6 Mafia, and a lot of things like that, even to this day, are based off of that sound. Man, you know what I'm saying? 20 years later,
stacks and all that, their inability to leverage it though, the hip hop, and make it work for them. I think Atlanta was able to do it, even though it didn't all the way come up. One, a lot of people from those places also moved to Atlanta too. And then two, Atlanta had, and they moved because of the black mayor and the policy. There were certain policies, RFPs for black contractors and different things, along with these high-level black educational institutions. So it's Georgia Tech and Emory here, but you got Morehouse and Spelman, so you got this uppity Negro continuously coming up out of here, and you would need those type of people if you wanted to leverage things that come from black culture. Right. Because if you don't have any sort of protection, our IP and the way we do it would always have to feed into their system. Yes. So Atlanta created a safe place to play in that space. Which again, because this wasn't 05, we weren't aggressively crunk anymore. This 2015, by now we had started to kind of swag out. We were swagging, and a lot of times we didn't even, all that ATL, whole heavy ATL, we had started falling. If you listen to a lot of rap now, we starting to say, like the Migos North, they want to show what part of Atlanta they from. And sometimes they might even say Atlanta. T.I. just say Bankhead. You already know the Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we were at a different place from our aggression. We were less aggressive, more swag. And so that, knowing that, we were also thinking about what shirt around that same time, what would Atlanta shirt say?
Yeah.
Because this is also the time where everybody was straight out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Which the straight out of Compton, the city of Compton, they never adopted that. That became NWA's thing.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, now we know times have changed where a city would want that type of branding. And then everybody became straight out of somewhere. Because of a marketing, that was a marketing campaign.
When you could go on there and you could put you could put in your picture, you could put in, your city, you know what I'm saying, all of that.
And one thing, and it's all, it's like, I'm taking a while to explain it, but on the phone, it all happened very quickly. Like all of this information was already in me. Yeah. To help me rant and say the words together. Yeah. There was no cool creative process. Oh, hell yeah, we influenced. Like, nah, it came as a emotional rant.
Yeah, like, man, y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
No, but it was, and I needed something because they wouldn't cut the check. Yeah. I needed, it was in my feelings. I was petty, and it's like, how often do you get a chance to like curse out somebody at Nike or whatever? So I'm take my ball and go home. You don't want to pay? So I needed something that would stick with them. Like, I'm going to push this over before I leave. Right. And so because we were on the phone, we weren't in person, what could I say? Yeah. So I got in my feelings, and all I could say that to make it not debatable for them so I could leave was Atlanta influenced everything and close the door, nigga. But what I knew was Detroit versus everybody. I knew enough people from Detroit. I knew enough about Detroit. On the other side of Kwame Kilpatrick, they were one of the first American cities to ever go bankrupt. They had lost. So they were clawing their way back up from that. That energy, if you know Detroit, that's that energy. Did other cities use it? Yes, because it's not debatable. Right. It is Atlanta versus everybody because right now, I could just decide I don't like Dessie, and I say, you know what, yo, I verse you. Right. You can't say I'm lying. I just verse you.
That's how you feel.
Yes, that's what it is. So boom, and then straight out of Compton, we saw that,
straight out of wherever.
Yeah. Now somebody who really from that place could be like,
you ain't.
Yeah, okay, that's the debate. Yeah. Atlanta influenced everything. For the reasons why I quickly said it, I felt like this great company that understood branding and marketing, that had a strong branding and marketing department in Nike, that even if their department wanted to go do some research to say that what I said wasn't true, then I felt, I felt they couldn't. So I knew I had, Atlanta.
And when you think about it, like, and now when you put it that way, I'm like, man, you couldn't say Houston influences. You like the only thing you might could have said was some New York stuff in like the 80s and 90s when they first started hip hop. But at this point, we so far down the line. No, Atlanta.
Now I have to say the tail end of that, because that was an emotional statement. Yeah. And what also helped me feel so confident, this was tail end of 2015, around the time when everybody, with the dab, everybody's, so
Amigos,
when you get the story of how they created it, and then how it then became a phenomenon, like there's these weird, because Atlanta's so small, we be making this big deal like it's this big strategy, and that just go for urban culture too. Sometimes most of the time it's no strategy. It's just the energy of the community in the moment is what comes from the ethos of being black. So that NFL season that year, the Carolina Panthers had one of the earlier bye weeks in the season. And so they had the early bye week. Cam comes home. His brother at the time was a quarterback of Grady High School right there in Midtown. So Cam is just coming to see his brother. Brother scores touchdown. Start dabbing. So regular family shit. They go out to eat after the game. Like just go to the house, whatever.
Yeah, what you do? What is
Yeah,
that?
what is that? And then so the brother tells Cam like, you know, this is dad. This is, you know.
Yeah.
And Cam like, oh, okay, bet. Let me.
So now when he goes,
So now when you get the story of like how organically it started,
right?
and then it just grew, I guess, all the way to where the white boy was. When he
Yeah.
was all, it got weird.
Yeah.
But
Like
months later,
like
you know what I'm
everything gets
saying?
weird. Like
He
we
was-
take it too far.
Yeah, whenever
you
it
know
was at
what
the
I'm
Capitol or whatever, and
Yeah.
he gets sworn in, and he done did the dab.
Yeah.
And I think they were like, yo, what is he doing? You know what I'm saying? So it was such in the early, you could see that these Atlanta things were becoming things. I knew shouty in certain slang, 12. Now, it's sometimes it'd be, well, nah, we started that or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are, 12. It's just how fought 12.
Bando.
Yeah,
You got all
even
these terms.
on the other side of George Floyd, for better or for worse, yeah, the even though defund the police would sound crazy, but that's the politically correct way to say the hip hop version of fuck 12.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so these things became lexicon. And so to fast forward how the business model came together and built around the brand was put it on a shirt, kind of doing a few events. It's chugging along, and that's me and my partner Ian.
Yeah.
And what he said about why I had an attitude when I said it was, he said, man, see, I'm from Brooklyn. Our brand, like, we could go anywhere in the world and we could say, where Brooklyn at, or is Brooklyn in the house? And somebody just gonna stick their head out and be like, yo, we right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, man, my time at Morehouse, one, I never went back to Brooklyn after I graduated Morehouse. So there's obviously something here. Yeah. Two, y'all be wanting to get mad and fight because folks disrespect you. Sometimes it's not even a real disrespect. And a lot of times it's folks just don't know.
Yeah.
Because this is the place where all these black people come. Don't nobody, you got to tell people who you are.
Yeah. You got to catch them up sometimes.
Yes, and we were not. Yeah. And still all the way have not all the way.
That almost reminds me of that meme. It's like a meme that's going around right now. It's like, oh, if you too humble, you'll get overlooked and all of this. Like, if you're here, you know what I'm saying? But we're assuming everybody outside of this culture knows, but they simply don't know. And we can't be upset that they don't know.
Can't be upset that we don't know.
Yeah.
And on the other side, understanding how it got the way, part of it is just being Southern. Like the Southern stereotype, our region, we were never in your face braggadocio. That crunk and all that's reactionary music.
Yeah.
That's music on the other side of the South got something to say. So if Andre never had to say that, and we were always accepted by New York, then it's a different energy. So
you might not
Atlanta,
get that. Yeah.
the energy was always reactionary. And the weird part about Atlanta, a lot of Atlanta problems, you take a step back and you look at what would be considered black or African American problems, they're very similar. The city's problems and the racist problems. Black people are reactionary in America. Now, in this new America, this is the time to be proactive. Because they leaning in. So now you got to go. If you ain't got to get ready, if you stay ready, go get it now. But before, we just be humming along, something happened.
And then we go.
Instead of staying on, keeping that foot on the gas. And so Atlanta, what he said, we needed to do a better job storytelling, telling what made us great. Now, that didn't really fall into place until a couple years later. We added partner Tori, who brought a lot of content and storytelling to the brand. And he ended up getting us plugged into this TEDx. There was this TEDx Collier Heights near in the area where Killer Mike and T.I. went to school, Doug High School, where the current mayor went, T.I., Killer Mike. Remember Jamal Lewis used to play for? They all went, Shawty Lowe, they all went to this school called Doug. And so the TEDx was in that area. And it was the name of the TEDx was Atlanta Influence Everything. And all of these people that had different stories, about 8 speakers would speak into whatever their sector was.
And how it related
and so
to that.
The last speaker was me to culminate.
Yeah, to tie it all in again.
Yeah. So that's pressure in one. And then two, you know, them TEDx talks, man, people ain't winging them, yo. Like,
you gotta put that together. Yeah.
You know, so
no matter how long it is, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 20 minutes, you gotta be on point.
And I talk a lot, yo. But up there with the little mic, the mics on you, everybody looking at you, it's not like this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
and it ain't interactive. Like you just gotta go through that thing.
I used to work at this nonprofit called the Center for Civic Innovation, where I learned a lot about policy and how the city works, but always identified as a creative. So it's just like, think about a creative or A&R or a marketing person and just the way they view the world.
Yeah.
But insert policy knowledge of how a city is
process.
Oh my God. So that's really how my sauce. That's my own personal brand of how it works.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of those two. But anyway, that guy that ran that nonprofit helped me pull together my talk. We settled on the old school, the intro paragraph. You got to do a report, the intro paragraph, your three.
Your bullet points.
Yeah, and then your conclusion.
Then wrap it up. Yeah.
So, because he gave me that format, I just need to plug and play. And then that helped me settle down years later. Well, I guess, 3 years later from when we first came out with the shirt and the brand, to actually give an academic explanation
of it.
And how I could go to New York and LA, and if anybody were to challenge me on it, that of what I would say. Now it is what I would say as the creator of the brand. Now you, the consumer that would buy it, I'm always interested in what
you think of it.
And I know where most people go, they're gonna go with black, like hip hop. But I knew in order to like fully sell it in,
you had to have other pieces.
And so that TEDx talk helped me.
So I guess briefly, say what they are.
It was the 3 C's. The first, I had to think about, if I was bragging, I needed to hold my own, and then, especially like New York, what you gonna say to a nigga in New York that challenge you on this? And so I gotta be petty, yo. I'm gonna go Dr. King, man. Like, I know we got it, and I know you don't. Wherever you from, nigga, give me your best where you from, and I'll raise you a Dr. King. And then I'm gonna turn around, and I'll wait, you know what I'm saying? And so I know Dr. King is like Bob Martin. He's like this big figure. And real talk, I mean, his grave is 1 block right there. Ebenezer, that we're in where he was raised. And so Dr. King and the home of the civil rights movement and what that is. So that it was 3 C's. The first would be civic. So we could, it's like, now wait to see wherever you from, if you want to debate, Then the second C would be one of the most recognizable brands in the world, no matter what letter, no matter how you do, as long as you kind of keep the font and the color scheme the same. Atlanta's a small city, and from that same soil, same small place as Dr. King, Coca-Cola, man, most recognizable brands in the world.
Don't matter.
And so
that little curve,
the
font,
and so from that to be from Atlanta too, most people get one thing, but we got 2 big, so you take that and use that Coca-Cola to speak more to we got a strong chamber. Now I know Austin killing right now as well, but in that same span, it's really went up for the South as a whole because Atlanta in that same time where Austin has gained Oracle and Tesla, Microsoft has tripled down on here. Airbnb just moved a big operation here.
Yeah.
So we have a strong chamber, commerce overall.
That's how we feel about Dallas. So many people are moving corporations to Dallas and then Texas in general. Yeah.
So we put that, and we knew, aside from the Coca-Cola, that commerce and corporate, that other people have strong corporate bases too. So it's really that Coca-Cola. Like, you're gonna have to show me, and now obviously come to Texas, you're gonna raise me a Pepsi.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, let's do our battles, but everywhere else don't really have that these worldwide brands that just boom. And so civic, corporate, commerce, and the third CEO is Outkast, man. You know what I'm saying? And Outkast as what it means for the larger space of urban culture and what urban culture is to American pop culture. And then if you travel the world, you start to see at a high level all American pop culture impact. You could BTS, you could just see American pop, but the root, when you start to strip back the layers of American pop culture,
right here,
and it's urban, it's black.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just in general, not even locale wise. What happens is, because we're saying black culture, which on its face doesn't have a locale, it's African American culture. But once Atlanta became the black mecca, and the black people started coming from St. Louis and Chicago and Baltimore and Jackson, Mississippi and Jacksonville, Florida, and bringing their slang. So it's because I wanted to be clear, especially with a nod to my two business partners, that it is not necessarily Atlanta born, but it's the black mecca.
That's where everybody comes.
Yeah, and they bring where they start they cuisine and they slang and they dance moves where they from, and bring it to this safe place. And what comes up out of that? And so it's those 3 C's: the civic, the kind of corporate,
it's like
and the culture.
It's like the melting pot that America is supposed to be.
Thank you. Yes.
That's what Atlanta is for black culture.
Yes. And now the last piece of that is those 3 C's justify the statement. Now, Atlanta is number 1 in the country in income inequality. So we got the largest gap between the rich and the poor. And then we have a 4% upward mobility rate. So if you're born poor in Atlanta, 96% chance that you'll die poor. Yeah. So that is in total contradiction to the brand and what we're selling. So it's like, well, damn. And that's where the business model gets a little different. Because from a American get money capitalism standpoint, you're supposed to say, really, fuck that, sell the shirt. Your concern about
people,
whether it's working or not, is but it's a new day when we say do it for the culture, and this new iteration of our people and doing it for the culture is when you get the blessed opportunity to actually do a thing, and you have the ability, just a little bit more effort to overlap and work something in. Even though it might take you a little bit more time, you have to do that for the culture, for the ancestors, because you can. We because we knew from a marketing standpoint, because we were not fashion people, and there's an overlap obviously between marketing and fashion. But we knew we had at least paused you and garnered your attention with the shirt, and the hashtag was taking on a life of its own. So once we did a TEDx talk and came with a formula, all we needed to overlay and kind of wrap around that were a fleet of services that supported how to do that. Either white label services, a la carte services, or whatever. But if you believe in the statement, then one, we could show you how to take what we were able to do and leverage this for Atlanta. Everybody has that. Everybody has a thing. It's just doubling down on what that thing is and making it work for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the lesson in our business.
And as I said earlier, like it's really dope because you guys, you have the product, you have the marketing, but you're always giving back. Like, and when Sherry first hooked us up, I was working on the Black Men Vote project. So I spent about a month out here, working for the Senate runoffs and things like that. And so when we hooked up, it was like, we didn't even hook up on no brand, on no marketing. Everything that we hooked up on was about giving back. It was food giveaways. It was, making sure people had masks, making sure people we had some Kroger gift cards. We had some Wingstop gift cards. Everything was about the people. And then we became tight along the way while working to help the people. And I love the fact that y'all were always deep in the community with it. It wasn't like it was some for show, yada, yada, yada. Nah, meet me over here. Like, half the time I didn't even know what neighborhood I was pulling up in. It was just like, yo, meet me over here. Here the address. and I'm pulling up like, okay, this is where we at today? All right, bet.
we knew that the more the brand made its way and we were able to get it in different types of hands, man, it's a bold statement. Like, so if we gave you any information on where it came from, then that would open up the door for a conversation on the leveraging of that, possibly.
Yeah.
So the number one in income inequality and the 4% upper mobility rate, what that could tell you is, well, you just sat here and sold me on these 3 C's, gave me this whole thing, and that I'm kind of buying it, but the data and the numbers show me that it doesn't seem to be working on another end.
Mm-hmm.
So what we saw was, yeah, those 3 C's are the why, but one, influencers and bosses in each of those 3 C sectors, they're not talking amongst each other.
Yeah. So
they first need to understand their value in the big pot of Atlanta, and then go talk to the other boss. So if I'm at the NAACP of 100 Black Men of Atlanta, then I need to talk to who's over in the culture end.
Yeah.
And who's at Coca-Cola? How do we collaborate? You know what I'm saying? Amongst these 3 C's.
Work together.
And then the other piece is, once Atlanta understands and they get that collaboration across the 3 C's, and Atlanta understands that that's what its sauce is in comparison to someone else's.
Yeah.
Then you build pipelines, community into. Now you could go in any career you want to, but if you were in Atlanta and you wanted to go into any of those particular 3 C's, like I'm assuming if I'm in Detroit and I want to go into the car industry, or if I'm in Texas and want to get into the oil industry, I don't have to kick and scream. There's a way in some form. There might be some diversity plays, but there's a way in. In Atlanta, we just needed to own that this is what makes us us.
Yeah.
And let's double, triple down on the workforce of that. And you build a workforce around those things, and that'll build economic development. So that whole number one in income inequality, we just weren't, you cool but you broke. We weren't, influence has value.
Yeah.
And we weren't leveraging it.
And that takes me to the next part, the word influence, right? There's a lot of people that say they are influencers, but it's like, where are you leading the people to? In this society, we want people to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, or whatever it may be. But where are you taking the people to, right? And, my background from working in radio and doing parties and events and things like that, you said you came up and your parents were really big on doing social work and things like that. My dad, who recently passed in September, he was a pastor, but also was on the school board and was on the board for the United Way and volunteered at the Salvation Army. And my grandmother, I didn't go to pre-K. She used to keep me at the Salvation Army. So I see, and then my mom was always a Sunday school teacher and was a director of a Boys and Girls Club, and now she works in housing. So
this stuff has affected you in the way you approach Dessie's brand.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can do parties and marketing all day long, but at some point, it's important that I use my influence to help people. So I can't with a clear conscience only just be all about getting some money and doing this. No.
Now, I used to be angry at folks who did what just about the money, and I had to. It is what it is. You can't, say, well, this person made this amount of money, therefore,
they should have gave.
And I used to, but what's key is your background also has a lot to do with your approach. So it's almost like the reason we're not better than nobody. The reason we might approach this business in that manner, and there are many other people in the business, is due to our background and how we were raised. And I until I could find the cool in community engagement, I was in denial for a long time because, Atlanta shit, Magic City, and just the culture. The community engagement piece wasn't, aside from the Nino Brown rapper turkey giveaway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Every year.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But the real stuff that we would talk about, that we would want to see in our communities, that's people who worked in that space, they didn't come across as cool. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm wanting to be around cool, so I want to be an A&R. But then it took a minute that one allowed me to actually open the other, and really that my success in marketing and branding, because there are many dope people who work in marketing and branding. What my success would come from is owning the community engagement piece that I so downplayed because it didn't come across as cool. But that's what made me.
And now you can make it cool. The same with politics, right? Politics have never been cool in the black community. But now with Atlanta and Georgia and and things like that, and even somebody like a Barack, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was cool. So so now we're seeing this as like, what, this space can be cool. So let's make it cool, and people that are influential, doing their part on making it cool. And as we may even talk before we started shooting, like, keeping our foot on the gas and making sure we don't fall off, like we typically do. Like, okay, we got a black president. Okay, we done now. Like, nah, they trying to lull us to sleep. Like, no, Senate runoffs. Okay, now, we got Georgia. Okay, now it's some other Senate races that are going to be coming up. So let's stay constantly engaged.
And we could layer in the culture, and even though some folks feel it's a shame you have to do this, whether it's a shame you have to do it or not, it got to get done. So using the brands and the marketing to incentivize, to help fill in some gaps and provide this guiding hand that would help you stay engaged.
We're always lacking information, and so we don't want it to be a situation where we don't have the information. Even when it comes to COVID and like the vaccine, right? Of course, black people are afraid of the vaccine. We ain't trying to take it. You know what I'm saying? And I understand why. But if nothing else, I want to help provide that information. Now, if you take it or if you don't take it, that's up to you. But if you do want to take the vaccine, then here's how you do it. Versus just, man, and some people that want to take the vaccine and have no idea where to start. So even when it comes to voting, we like to simplify things. And that was the thing about when we were working on the Senate runoffs. Like, okay, if you want an early vote, if you look at this flyer that we giving out, like, we gonna give you a gift card and some food too, but we also gonna give you this information. So if you want an early vote, like, okay, it started at 7 a.m. and it don't end to 7 p.m. So that way you don't have any excuses on that you didn't have the information.
And our type of marketing is very key because everybody needs marketing, but the vaccine and the voting, if you say, well, we need you to go talk to this, like, multicultural is kind of easy, but if it's specifically a black audience, the two things, the vaccine and the voting, those two things that we are selling or marketing as those are two areas that have let black people down many a time. And so now the marketer has to layer something else in on top of the campaign because and America has to eat that. So yeah, there are a lot of white people angry. I wish black people would just take the vaccine and
it's
whatever.
like it's not that easy.
But if you understood the history of America with black people in this space, then you would understand this is just the chickens coming home to roost in terms of what America had done to them before. But a lot of times that anger would come from white people not even knowing real American history.
Yeah.
So I can see why you would be like, because it's like we're trying to rid the country of, like we're making progress, and here's this particular group of people that seem to be hindering. And if you don't know your history,
and
of course you will be angry like
and,
that.
And that's why that's why perspectives are so important, right? You know, and this comes to like, you know, having a relative, right? Like, you know, having a relative who their dad may not be in their life, right? So, and I'll be transparent. I'm sitting in my uncle's funeral, right? So, my first cousin, right? Her dad was never in her life, but he got remarried and had 2 more kids with his wife. And so at the funeral, everybody's talking about how he's the greatest dad in the world, but everything is about perspective, right? Because to my one cousin, he the worst, but to the other one, to his other kids, my other cousins over here who he was with, he the best dad ever. You know what I'm saying? So it's that perspective. So we as black people, we have a perspective like, no, we ain't vote, we ain't taking the vaccine, they ain't never did us right. You know what I'm saying? And on the other side, they like, well, what y'all tripping on? Like, but that's because they don't even get it at all.
Don't get it at all. And then once they get it, that's a great start, because you know there's a power in just the understanding of something. And then now what? So now you take the creative marketers, and I feel like you kind of take the stimulus bill and all of, and there's some, and I'm freestyling here, I'll drop it right here, in terms of how we operate with brands.
Yeah.
And you know the influencer boxes, brand boxes. Yeah. It's nothing, and I'll use the voting and not the vaccine. But it's nothing. 'Cause I saw what we awarded people just for coming early with they coming with I voted sticker in the early. But just the act of voting and confirming that you did, I won't need to know who you voted for. Right. But here go a box.
And now, they got all kind of products
of stuff. This is simple, and it's simple for the brand. Yes. To put in the box. You know, it's simple. It's the little things
that make and that's just like when you buy something and they may just throw a sticker and a pen in there, but it's like they care at the end of the day. And it's the same thing. Like, you know, when almost like back in the day when they used to, if you turned in a gun, you got whatever back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Big Boy had a verse on that.
Yes, but I'm saying, like when they really buckle down and want to make some shit happen, like it's really simple. Just cut the check. Stop playing.
Cut the check, man. Cut the check. And these type checks now, because it's voting and vaccine, they're so you know. You're looking at a group of people, it's like, well, if only they would do this, we would be good.
Well, if only y'all would do this.
Well, shit. Yo, let's figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the touch point? And I think that's where we at right now.
Yeah, and then there's a thin line with us as marketers.
Very thin line.
To make sure that we're not selling out, too.
Very thin line.
Like, because, like, it's, you know, sometimes you get pitches from companies that say, hey, I want you to work on this. And you like, bro, I ain't gonna be able to do that. Yeah. Like, that don't even make sense. Yeah. That's not a good look for me. That's not a good look in my community. Like,
because this is America, there will always be a taker. That's just absolutely. But for you yourself, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like for us, you know, we never marketed malt liquor
Yeah.
Now we did a party with Coke 45
Yeah.
that had free. Well, it was for BET Hip Hop,
right.
but we never did a marketing campaign.
But that's Coke 45.
Yeah,
That's
you know what I'm saying?
It has a different culture to it. Billy D, like, you know what I'm saying? It has a cool factor to it. Like, now I ain't gonna be out here, pushing Camel cigarettes.
Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what it is. But somebody will, though.
Yes.
There will be a taker.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There will be a taker.
That's just like that's just like with me with strip clubs. Atlanta has a strip club culture. But like me coming from Texas, like I would never man, I can give you all the ideas in the world for the strip club. I can help you. I can be a consultant on it, but I can't be at the strip club. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a pastor kid, and I got the same name as my dad. I'm a junior. I can't host the strip club, but I can give you all the ideas.
Yo, my cousin curate the Magic City. He curate their Spotify.
Yeah.
Magic City Mondays got a Spotify.
Yeah.
And he got my two daughters. Well, his two daughters, my two little cousins.
Yeah.
Yo, and this, I mean, they done curated the Spotify.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now it's just they little teenage girls. It's just the Spotify. There's nothing on there. There's no vids. It's music.
Yeah.
But it's the Magic City Monday Spotify. He was like, yeah, my daughter's done curated this playlist tonight.
You're right. You like it's the weirdest thing. It just, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
it's just different culture.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time, but I do want to touch on, because I'm so conflicted by it with like we said, with the Detroit versus everybody now doing the deal with Gucci, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously they trying to catch up. You know what I'm saying? Gucci, because by now everybody done bootleg these shirts. It's a Detroit versus everybody. It's a Dallas. It's a Oak Cliff. It's a Atlanta. Like, you've seen literally every shirt. And now Gucci comes in. I'm sure they cut a crazy check. Hopefully they cut a crazy check and some kind of percentage. But now they selling these shirts for $300 and $400, and I'm just hoping that black people are not buying these shirts. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the crazy. And OG of mine that I worked on some marketing projects with some years ago is from Detroit. Moved back to Detroit and knows Tommy. This is from Detroit versus everybody. And before COVID, he was supposed to be trying to get us on a call. We've still never spoken. He's aware of us. And I'm always keen to say, like, immediately, I want people to know when we came out versus when they came out.
Right.
And to know that when you see this shirt, it got that Detroit versus everybody energy. It's just Atlanta influences everything.
Right.
But the energy comes from, what they presented first. But I want to know more of his story, like what he was doing before, what he's into, and his why. I know that information about Sherrod, God is dope. So I have an understanding of why, how God is dope happened, like what's going on, with the backstory.
I like to have that for support black colleges too.
I
think that would be super dope to get that.
Because it helps. And for us, because our backstory, like I wanted to be an A&R and then, became infatuated with like Steve Stout and Tandon of America and all of that. But then that my parents being social workers and coming from a community engagement family, it's a dream for me and my personal, like just me, to be on the phone negotiating with Gucci. Regardless of what fuckery they did. This is Gucci.
Right.
And this is just me and my personal. Like, man, this is Gucci.
Right.
I know they did some fuckery, man, but still.
They always doing fuckery. Like,
but it's still Gucci.
And
like,
and what that sounds like is when, like, we know these record labels are fucking a lot of people over, but dudes, like, you want to get signed, like you want to sign with Def Jam.
But the beautiful part about understanding your value and knowing your history and from whence you came, you approach those. You could be in the same situation and approach it differently. So that's why I love Currency and just like his career. And you look at the deal structure, it was Atlantic or whoever he's with, and then you look at, there's not enough known about Nipsey's deal structure with Atlantic, but it was a different structured deal than the average urban artist.
It's almost like the label deal versus signing directly.
In Currency, and Nip too, but even though Nip's approach is from an artist is a little different than Currency, there's some overlap, but Currency caught a lot of flack because he was on this like independent, pushing the indie, and then he signed, but he got this verse where he was like, yeah, even though I sat down at the table with the majors, it ain't something, they gotta take it how I gave it.
Yeah.
So it's when you sit down with the Gucci and the community folk, oh man, you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
But if you understand your history from whence you came, you understand your leverageable levers to pull with who you send.
Then it's gonna be right. The deal is gonna be,
because they got to take it how you gave it.
Right.
Now it's on you on what I'll research and how you know. Like I know, and I would be interested to talk to Tommy to figure out what the back end structure, because if there is more to it than that price on the thing, I guess they didn't market it. But in my mind, Atlanta influenced everything. Sit down with Gucci.
Yeah.
Are we doing it? If that's what the price point is going to be, $390, then it will be known that as a consumer, the whole reason we even signed on the line is because we are making this brand give. They are paying for people who want to go, and for young public school students who want to get in the business of fashion, the business, whether you making the fabric or whether you working on the marketing side, that's where we lack.
Yeah.
The money from the sales of this, if we keep an eye cut,
that's going towards
man, and you have to make that play,
right?
Because you can. Right now, if there was any other time you can make that play,
you have the leverage.
You have the leverage, and you have to use it. So I'm okay with partners that have had certain egregious offenses. There's probably a space where I would draw the line.
Yeah.
But the product of Gucci, so one, it's not tobacco that someone is taking into their lungs. So I'm not selling you poison and that end. This is you've raped us, you've gotten us in another way. But that way in which you got us, we got to start somewhere. Right. So this pipeline to employment or any sort of.
At the end of the day, unfortunately, black people not gonna stop, because even when they mess up, you still have somebody that'll say, "Well, I'm still buying my Gucci.
Oh yeah,
I'm still buying it." You know what I'm saying?
But this caveat that we done worked into this mother years ago, there's a that ignorance could still pay off.
Exactly.
For how we done work this.
where you done work the deal.
I only spend it then.
Yeah, you gonna spend it anyway. At least it's gonna go to something.
What's that UNICEF with the $1 a day from the coffee?
Yeah.
Feed the starving child. You done okay? It's that deal with real culture and real talk. Like, cause you finna spend it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is applicable on so many levels. I think, you know, the strip club space, they could lean into, what is it? It's international, it's women's month, it's International Women's Day, whatever. Now, yeah, you would have to do it in a strategic way. That's why I would recommend at the strip club. Pornhub does an amazing job. Now, because of who they are, it always gets
but
in the tongue in cheek. But the you watch any porn where they had like porn where they use honey as a prop. You watch this porn this week.
And this goes back to
the beekeeper's fund because they've proven without honey the climate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But they just do things on a different level anyway. Just like they tried to buy the name and rights for one of these stadiums.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But and they know that the NFL, the NBA, or whoever is not going to let it be Pornhub Stadium.
Yeah.
But what they understand is that's a story.
And what I understand is no matter how much at times the media might try to make it or the culture might do some weird things, we, because of the blackness of it, you could try to make us in black culture Pornhub and act like you got to stay away.
Yeah.
But because of TikTok and certain other things, the way we got the culture got its claws into your children.
Yeah.
You can't make black culture the same as Pornhub. Like you got to stay away.
Yeah.
You just got to hire
the right people,
the right folk, but you can't ignore it. You're gonna have to deal with it
either now or later on.
That's what it is. It's just the right people.
And that's why it's so important for people like us who, have, morals with it, in a sense, to make sure that we're getting in those positions, to make things happen, because you don't want it to go into the wrong hands. Like, almost like when you hear a company, like, kind of like what you were saying, if the wrong person or whatever gets the deal, you like, he sold it out. You know what I'm saying? But if it's the right company that gets the deal, you like, you know what? I know them and I trust them. So I don't know what they got going, but I know they go do it right. It's gonna have some kind of additional piece to it. You know what I'm saying? It's not they just took the check and ran. Like they go do something with it. So, but man, thank you so much for being on the YouKnowDessie show, man. I want you to tell the people where they can find your brand, where they can follow you, and if you have anything else to shout out or anything else like that.
Man, first of all, thank you for this. Like you have your own show. I don't have my own show, but I'm sure you've also been on other people's shows too. And so I've done these not as much from this angle, and I don't think I said a lot during this interview. The folks who speech out and say, you can't say But I didn't. I don't think I did as much during this interview because of the flow. Just the vibe. It's just wow, Like I feel like damn, I think I might have gave a great ass fucking interview here, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to see what this looks like. I need it for some clients. I might need to show my mama or something. Like, hey, because in the creative space, because of the type of work it is, either people only, your family and friends, they only get a chance to see the end result.
They don't see
if that. They never, and I've always wanted my mom to know I partake, but I'm not a stoner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted my mom to hear me pitching business to a client, or hear me on the call with a client, so you can see, like, yo, my son, this nigga sounds really businessy, Like, I didn't know. I just saw the end project.
That is so dope, because the last 3-4 interviews I've done, sent them straight to my mama. Even before I drop them to the world, I sent her a private link with them. You know what I'm saying? And she's always like, can I send this to your aunt? Can I send this to this person?
That's
you know what I'm
saying?
But I love it because I'm like, she can be proud. Like, send it. You know what I'm saying?
Because on his face, without context, the type of work we do could be misconstrued by, especially our parents. Most of them didn't even work in this space like this. And so if you were to just show them the client list sometimes, and then they look at your IG, it feels like you out here playing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But no, this real business.
This is real business,
Yes.
and it feels good.
There's a Diddy song. He did an MMM project, and he has a song called "Working." Don't bother me, I'm working. And in there, he makes a statement about, you see us in the club drinking Ciroc. No, but nigga, we working. You know what I'm saying?
The same with that Devin the Dude and Snoop in 3 Stacks. What a job. Where they break down just the back end of what it looked like versus what the day-to-day is.
Yeah, because on his face, it's like, oh, Dessie went to Atlanta for Allstar Weekend. He out there acting a fool. You know what I'm saying? Partying.
Yeah.
No, I'm working.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
It's fun work.
It is fun work, and then sometimes it ain't fun. Like some days you do wish the clock stopped at 5.
Yeah.
You know, 9 to 5. I'm done.
And
Live for the weekend.
And you wish it was a for show check.
Yeah,
it ain't always a for show
and
check.
It's not, and that's so. The editing process, as y'all, you know, I'm sure you would prefer that it just happened by osmosis and that you didn't have to sit and go through the process. So there's an amount of work to what it looked like you came to Atlanta and did.
Yeah.
And yes, in terms of I want, and I'll end it with this piece, but I what drives me is younger versions of ourselves. So I think about the 8th, 9th grade BEM and Dessie right now. And I think about how I had some amazing elders, great elders, but most of them did not come from the creative field. So they could not really help me. What we were talking about earlier, they couldn't help me with my IP, knowing that some IP might get stolen or because the process of being a creative, it's not as much a process as other sectors. And so younger versions of us, if we had more insight into that these jobs and careers existed, who wouldn't want to be a sneaker designer and work? Who don't want to work for Nike or work for EA Sports if you show the kid it exists?
And
now
it's that exposure, and that's why I love to speak at career days and colleges and things like that, because you know, like, I done traveled all around the world. I done been on private jets with Tom Joyner, and I always say that I'm not always in the spotlight. Sometimes I'm right outside of the spotlight. I'm right off to the TV right here on the star, and I'm right here off screen.
And that's where the power. What I've learned over the years, in regards to Black people, is that with the biggie, you sling crack rocker, you got a wicked jump shot. And my mom would say, man, we need to do more than sports and entertainment.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, you're talking in front of the camera. Because mom, no disrespect, you as a social worker, you've never heard of a black sneaker designer. You don't know about the career, the job as a creative director for so-and-so. Yeah. You've never heard of this. These are jobs in sports, the sports agent, Rich Paul and Maverick Carter them. Yeah. These are jobs in the business of it that our elders don't even know. So they couldn't help us. But we now
know that.
So we can pour in early, and it's so important. And the reason of why I realized the business of creativity, because that's how you're able to be an adult, adulting, take care of a family. Yeah. And I can't rely on the talent piece to save the race, because it's not plausible. It doesn't make plausible sense. And so we started selling this, well, you got to be a boss to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And we need to build our entrepreneurial class. We need ownership and equity.
But you also need workers.
But we all, because that's just, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm not the best. I only recently, because of my partners, I was always trying to work for someone, and in the creative space, being made to feel bad that I wanted to work for someone and not be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I'm from the blackest city in the country, and most black folks in Atlanta cannot name 5 black creative directors.
Yeah.
But we are spoiled, so we know dentists, real estate agents, Cliff and Claire Huxtables, real Atlanta folks. We can rattle off those type of black people. This ain't Gary, Indiana.
Right.
Like it's black excellence is real. But the creative space and black ownership in that space, out of any other sector, we're not there. And I wondered why that is.
Yeah.
And what is brought to me is the business of law, like the back end, the way you carry yourself as a lawyer, and if you do anything, you could be disbarred. Or there's an infrastructure to every sector, but that infrastructure was created by a Euro-American white infrastructure on how you got to dress, how you got to carry yourself. Now the creative space, because of
freestyle,
it's the freest, but it's the freest sector that will allow you, as long as you can deliver amongst that creative talent, you're kind of free to go for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's why it's the least amount of black people here, because what the black 6-figure corporate exec he has in money, what he doesn't have is to be as black as you want to be in that space. But in the creative space, black people, what we need is self-belief and self-esteem, self-awareness of who we are and why we exist and what makes us important. And when you know that, you approach life differently. So the creative space allows for you to keep more of your black self than damn near any other sector.
Right. Like we can sit and have these same conversations with these top brands, and we can have hoodies on, sweatshirts, a hat. You know what I'm saying?
Confident,
yes.
Super confident. But it came from years of working in the creative space, muscle memory, like any other sort of, thing you do with repetition and practice. And yes, so now I can go to a non-creative space and speak confidently black because I'm getting money in this space, and this space pays me to be as black as I want to be, and I'm good. So when I talk to you, hey, you can take it or you leave it, bro. I don't need you. But all the other sectors, if they don't abide by the dress code or the rules and regulations of that,
it's a problem.
And so I push for diversity, inclusion, and creative space. What I want to leave is and of course, working for Nike looks cool to any 7th grader, but like anything, everything ain't meant for everyone. And so,
and it might have an expiration date on it.
Yes.
Like don't stay there forever.
Don't stay there. Don't take what you need from there. Go start your own, partner, collaborate with other folks who look like you, build your own. That way, back to the Gucci thing, you get them to pour into programming that would pay for the schooling of the black folks that would then go into the career.
And then going back to what you said about the other, in sports and entertainment, the other jobs that people may not understand, that's what I'm really big on with exposure. And a lot of times when I go and speak, and eventually at some point, if I ever slow down long enough to write this book, it's called The Game Beyond the Game, How to Play Ball Without Breaking a Sweat. So I'm not the star athlete, but I've been to Super Bowls working with the athletes. I'm not the radio personality, but I've been around the world working with the radio personality. So the same thing. And typically, if you're not the star per se, you can last a lot longer in the career. There are NFL agents that have never did anything. They ain't threw a ball. You know what I'm saying? But they've been an agent for 40 years.
I would like to see, what's that, the saying, my guy Jay Bailey says it all the time, plant seeds that grow into trees under whose shade you might not ever sit under. So this type of work, the result, I would love to see a neighborhood where the 2, 3, 4 blocks of the neighborhood are all black folks who done got their money from being a sports agent, from being the creative director, from being this. But it's a neighborhood of creative blacks, like in one area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like kind of like when Chris Rock says that thing about his neighborhood. Like the white dude is a dentist, but you got him, Mary J. Blige, and Jay-Z in the same neighborhood. They like some of the top, entertainers.
Yeah.
And they can. But this dude over here is just a dentist. Like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? So, you just gotta. It's just about that balance, and I know we can talk all day. But
I appreciate it. I remember when you said Tom Joyner. This most definitely makes me make sure I say my information. So, my name is BEM, BEM. On all social media platforms, it's BEM Joiner, but I'm light skinned and freckles, but I am not related to Tom Joyner, and it's spelled differently. So my Joiner is Joiner. So BEM Joiner, BEM JOINER on all platforms, and the company AIE.life. Atlanta influence everything. So it's AIE.life. And anything else, man, Google is your friend. It helped me out a lot. So, this is good, yo. I appreciate it.
Yo. And once again, there you have it, live on the YouKnowDessie Show. We in Atlanta. We right next to Atlanta Breakfast Club. So I'm about to go over here and have me some lunch, and then we out.